Welcome to Theatre of the Mind, live 308. The mission continues. Just giving me glasses a wipe, because you never know what's on there. So to speak. Right, done it. Right. Lovely. Welcome to the Theatre of the Mind. Wednesday night. Be blowed. I wish I was. Yes. And it's cold. I don't know whether you realise it, but April 1st, 2026 was another winter's day. We kind of can talk about April Fools, but I think life and the world is about as funny as piles at the minute, because there's no humour anywhere. So this evening we shall do the usual mission, but we shall have a look at sort of bringing a smile to everybody's face. So we'll talk about Stanley Kubrick and Man on the Moon. Yeah, right. We'll talk about Artemis, and we'll talk about, I'm going to read you the statement, and I'm going to have to read it because it's a statement from Scott Mills and from the BBC, and my take on what's going on and what's coming. Seemingly an under 16-year-old. I'm in one of those devil may care moods this evening. I really, I need somebody to just steady the ship for me, because it could all go horribly wrong tonight. Firstly, I'll wait till everybody gets their feet in the pews. Just remember, get yourself into the Starmers, budge up, let everybody else in. And why do we call them the Starmers? Because they're hard on your arse. I do have a lot of information that I'm going to try and impart tonight. I have to be, basically, give me 90 minutes and I'll give you the world. I'll give you it all, baby. The full. If the program controller was upstairs listening to what I'm saying right now, he'd be like, Jesus, get him off air. He's going to land us in trouble. So it's going to be one of those this evening. Not one of those, one of those. And, oh, sir, Dougie, who? Well, that's the news cycle for you. Bloody hell. I bet he's absolutely pissed off. He tries to get himself back into the public eye last Thursday. And, and the reason why I'm saying it now in the parish notes and not in the live is because I don't want him sullying the live any further until there's actually something new to say, other than he's using bloody AI now. Because Lucy Connolly, is she his useful idiot or something? Just asking for a friend, because we're a little confused. Now, it's not that difficult because I'm not that bright, but in my view... Right, come on, let's, so, Neil, I will say thank you, but I'm going to say thank you at the beginning of the live rather than just in the parish notes. If you don't mind, you know that I always welcome you into the body of the cook. So thank you, and thank you for your kindness. But I do want to just mention your donation. And I just want to say thank you in a more formal setting rather than the parish notes. Neil says, Adrian, please. Yes, I'll do. Yes, sorry. Yes, I will do that, Neil. You can tell that I'm just. This is off the cuff. Nothing better than one off the cuff, but it's off the cuff. So I'm in radio. It's called reading it blind. So you read it and you haven't read it before. You know that, Neil. David says, afternoon, evening, folks. That's a great gesture, Neil. I agree, David. Welcome to the body of Kirk. By the way, today, April 1st, is Chris Evans' birthday, and he's 60, and he's also very tall. It only feels like yesterday when I used to watch TFI Friday on Channel 4 all those decades ago with Chris Evans and his colleagues. Isn't he doing kind of... Now, I don't know how I feel about this, because he's doing interviews, and I think he's doing it in like the TFI desk and the TFI studio, and maybe he's going to bring TFI back. But has it had its day? Who am I to judge? Stuart says, evening, Adrian. Just want to say again. Oh, you're very kind, Stuart. Thank you. So sorry to hear about your friend James. Hope you're doing okay, and may James rest in peace. I've been thinking a lot about him over the last couple of days, and how lucky I was to know him professionally and personally. There is one story I want to tell you, but it's not. It wouldn't be right at the moment. It's very funny, but I think I'll leave that for a couple of weeks, because if I start, I'll just end up laughing. And I've got to be serious tonight because it's the live 308. So thank you, Stuart. And he says, my sister got me a Toblerone Easter egg. Brr, brr. Honestly, Stuart, I think it's only me and you that gets the gag. Got me a Toblerone Easter egg yesterday, Rev. I shall have it on Sunday whilst laughing me head off at our joke. I know, Stuart, not to sort of keep people out of the... It's not an in gag, it's just an old gag. You know Toblerone, the way it's shaped like triangle and things. Brr, brr. You know... Oh, look, I'll let you make your own gags up. Honestly, it'll probably be funnier because you'll be sitting there realising halfway through the live and you'll just laugh out loud, and anybody with you in the room will be like, are you on something? I see you. Neil, I wasn't going to cry today. I did. You are a kind soul. I see you. I agree. And I agree. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. David Graham. Italy crashed out of the World Cup. Ciao, baby, ciao. Italy crashed out of the World Cup last night after losing the playoff to Bosnia-Herzegovina, and on penalties. Why? I don't understand why I keep using this Yorkshire accent on penalties, because I'm not from Yorkshire. I can be if you want me to be. Might cost you more, though. That's 3 consecutive World Cup tournaments with the I-Ties won't be involved in. Cheating bar stewards. Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud? Stuart, very kind of Neil. Agreed. David Graham. Scott Mills is going to get 160 grand a year for his pension, according to Talk TV. 160 grand a year. Bloody hell, it's not even a round of drinks. Comparatively, 30 years, multi-millionaire Scott Mills. Multi-millionaire Scott Mills that doesn't work for the BBC anymore. And wait till you hear his statement. Not that I'm going to comment at the moment, but I will do it at 7:30 because that's what we're leading with. That's the lead story. Do you know all this kind of brown stuff on the front of all the... oh, hello. I take the Times, and I do take the Guardian, and you'll take all kinds of bullshit. The broadsheets haven't carried the story on their front pages yet. The little red tops, the little tabloids, the Daily Mirror and the Sun and the Daily Mail, every day. Well, I'm itching to get into it. I am. I am itching to get into it because I know what's coming. Not me, evidently. Les Griffiths says, do you think he should lose his pension? David Graham. No, because he's innocent. He's innocent until proven guilty. Is it Corpus Christi? It's another Latin phrase. I didn't do Latin at school because none of the teachers were good looking enough to make me concentrate. So 160 G's a year. He has done 30 years. There's some quibbling about he started in... I don't think that the BBC or anybody is kind of good at maths. Not math. It's maths, plural, for any of the Americans watching. John Wayne. Because he joined the BBC in 1998. 1997, he's working for Heart. It's 2026. 1998. 28 years. Yeah, fucking inept arse. Oh, I say, Rev, has one's potty mouth kicked in? I think it might have done. So, yeah, 28, you don't get your pension until you're 30 years in. Well, it depends. Like some of the public services, like NHS, I think it's 30. Police, it's now 40. Fire brigade, I think, is 30. And the BBC, I've told you, it's the bloody civil servants with microphones, man. Yes. By the way, NASA are going to return to Moon for the first time in over 50 years. Artemis 2 is the name of the rocket. Really? Is it just kind of... I am going to talk about that because seemingly man's walked on the moon. Ask Stanley Kubrick, he would know. and they're saying that we're going back to the moon. Well, we're not standing on it, and so are we just going to circumnavigate the globe, the Earth, avoiding all of Elon Musk's satellites, because there's bloody thousands of them. Has he got somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 satellites orbiting the globe? Just his? No, not the government's, just his. And, well, seemingly we have walked on moon, we've played golf on moon, and we've driven buggies on moon. But we're not going back to moon because we've got 50 years of improved processing power in our computers. There's more processing power in your iPhone, or the thing that I'm using to broadcast live with this, than they used for the first moonshot. I'm going to ask you the question a little later, whether man walked on the moon or not, and if you have any evidence. My evidence that I present to you that they haven't is the Van Allen radiation belt. Seemingly, they're only going to be in it for a little while, just a couple of hours. Really? What are they going to do? Come back like French fries? Irradiated. Well, if the supermarkets can use it on your oranges and your apples, they can irradiate. I mean, shall we talk about it later? Yeah, we're nearly getting there. Les Griffiths, David Graham, Stuart, everybody. What's that? Yeah, right. NASA went to the moon. They call it the North American Space Agency, don't they? Or Never a Space Agency. Anyway, the rocket will be launched sometime after 11 p.m. UK time. Yeah, when I finish the live, I'm off. Put my feet up, massive gin and tonic, and then and I'm going to watch. I'm going to play with my rocket, and I'm going to watch the rocket. Well, I saw it a little earlier. It is a magnificent erection, and the rocket's not bad either. I remember Nixon phoning the astronauts by landline. Must have cost a bloody fortune from the White House to the Hollywood film set. I'm with you, Les. Not that we're cynical old tarts at all, but I am with you, Les. I can't remember the film name of it, though, but Stanley Kubrick. Well, there's a boy. He would know. Sadly, he's dead. Right, let's get to Paulie Galtieri. Welcome to the Body of the Kirk. Rich, only if it's inclusive. I see you. Oh, I see. I see you, Les. We could all go to Chagos, our very own island. We'd be allowed to stay. The Chagosians. Somebody sent me. Oh, I didn't pick it up. Somebody sent me something about the Chagosian Islands, the Chagos Islands. That so the Chagosians are not allowed to have won some kind of court case where they're allowed to reside on some of the islands because they were stopped before. Good afternoon, Raven Wrongans. The Wrongregation is in the Body of the Kirk. We hope you're all fit and well as can be expected. Happy Wednesday, happy days. Napoleon Bonaparte, welcome to the Body of the Kirk. In the field, and Gribbo and Karina. I'm late tonight. Good evening, Adrian and all. Well, what's going on, Karina? How very dare you? Well, you're in before 7:30, so you're fine. And in the field. Oh yeah, can you? I used to love the Clangers. Anybody else up for the Clangers? And the Dark Side of the Moon. Not that it's a Pink Floyd album. I kind of appreciate that. And it's only called The Dark Side because we can't see it from where we are. But the NASA astronauts, 4 of them, are they going to be doing any, Mr. Wobbly hides his hat in space while they're there? Are they partners by any chance? Wallace and Gromit went to the moon. Oh, the Soup Dragon, Neil Cunningham. How bloody brilliant. We've got the Clangers and the Soup Dragon. Not that they were a bad band, but they were quite good. There's I See You. I called them Clingers earlier. That did make me laugh. I see you. That did make me laugh. So, thank you to everyone for being in the Body of the Kirk. Everyone's getting their feet under the table, in the pews, and the Starmers, and the piles cushions are over there. Battenberg, we've had to move it slightly because we weren't being left with very much. So we put security on Battenberg and Alta Wine. Because I do fear that a lot of people were taking bottles of the Alta Wine with them as they left. Yeah, bunch of wrong'uns. So, the Bad Wolf Project. Why the launch staff wearing face nabbies? Yeah. That's a very good point. I mean, it's not like... I didn't. I mean, there's plenty of people said to me, take your face for a shit, but I mean, I didn't have to wear a nappy. Who said that? Hang on a second. Des Ashton said, NASA need another 7 astronauts, or do they? What, they're going to sacrifice another bunch? I mean, do you know the Challenger spacecraft that blew up in as it was taking off? Do you know they've all landed teaching jobs? Now, I don't know whether modern technology and modern science is so brilliant that they can take little scraps like a jigsaw, put them all back together again, and there you've got the human. They're all lecturers and professors and stuff in universities. How does that work? You get blown up mid-air and then you land a job in a university. I mean, how brilliant is modern science? So welcome everyone, welcome Enver. Reduces the risk of giving the astronauts infections. The astronauts have been in quarantine for the last couple of weeks. Well, there's a question for you. Not a question, not a fully formed question, but they're going into space. Why would they be worried about catching infections down here? Oh, because they can't hear you scream in space and there's no chemists on the moon. Is it just in case they catch a cold or something? Crime and politics news. A fart in a spacesuit is bad, but Delhi Belly is a disaster. Or can you imagine Pebble dashing the inside of the spacecraft? I've had Delhi Belly, but it wasn't in Delhi. It was in Cairo. I can testify. Kaz says Challenger had dodgy ring. They did. A bit like certain BBC presenters of old. Les Griffith says, I keep telling you, Adrian, nothing is as it seems. Nothing. I agree, Les. I'm on the same page as you. I completely agree. And then Rich says, because they don't want to infect the crew on their 10-day mission. I mean, can you imagine 10 days? That was the original quarantine time for Charlie 19. Right, let's get into this. Are you ready? Are you ready? Right, tonight, going to talk about Scott Mills. Proper. We're going to talk about Artemis and NASA, not a space agency. Going to give you some data. We're going to talk about, we've done the Dougie thing, but also have a guess what else you haven't mentioned tonight at all in the chat. So, Scott Mills, is it being used? And I mean that in the most elegant of senses. So there's no Mandy McSweeney phone thing, texts. There's no Jeffrey Epstein. There's no the artist formerly known as Prince Andrew. All those stories have disappeared because everybody's just forgotten because there's a BBC shagger on the loose. I can say that, but I think to start with, I'll sort of introduce this, and then I'm going to read Scott Mills' statement, which came out about an hour ago, and then I'm going to read for legal reasons, I have to read them. I'm not just riffing on this. And then the BBC statement, because while you're watching the live and or later or tomorrow, there was did a little video explainer today, so that's there for you if you haven't caught up with the videos. But I think to begin with, I thought I would do a sit-rep, a situation report, darling, on Scott Mills, because this story has been moving so fast, and it matters that we separate what we know from what we think we know. So let's strip it right back. Here are the facts, as I know them and remember them. There was a police investigation into Scott Mills relating to historical allegations involving a teenage boy. That investigation from 2016 ran through to 2019. And the outcome from the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, was clear. No charges, insufficient evidence to proceed, case closed. So as it stands today, he's wholly innocent until proven guilty. He's innocent. That's the law. That's what we go by. That's the legal position. So just hold that for a moment, because Everything that's happened in the last, this is only just 48 hours old, this story. 48 hours. Because everything that's happened in the last 48 hours sits on top of that foundation, what happened from 2016 to 2019. So fast forward to now. The BBC's taken action, terminating his contract, citing personal conduct and historical allegations. And then this morning, the story shifted again. I mean, it was changing by the minute, let alone the hour, let alone the day or the week. It was changing by the minute. Police have now confirmed that the individual at the centre of that original investigation was under the age of 16 at the time. Statutory rape. I'll just say that again. Even consensual sex under the age of 16 is statutory rape. Now, no one is repeating that. No one dare mention that. I do, because that's the legal position. Not missionary or 69, the legal position. And that's not speculation. So that's now part of the confirmed reporting. Now, here's where I believe the tension of the story lives. Because you've got two timelines running side by side. Timeline 1, the legal system, investigation, no charges, case closed. Timeline 2, the institution. Years pass. Then suddenly, oi, 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 lads, quick, we better do something about this. Action. Not in the Stanley Kubrick sense. And the question that sits in the middle of that gap is simple. What has changed? Now, this afternoon, and I'm going to read it in a moment, the BBC added another layer. They've now said they received a press query in 2025. And bizarrely, we know who the journalist is, but I'm not going to name them yet. And the BBC is saying that press query included limited information. Now, I understand that journalist was supposed to be on GB News today, was supposed to be kind of out into the melee of things, and I haven't seen them. But the BBC have confirmed that they received a press query last summer, 2025. And they're now saying that should have been followed up. Better than the follow through that they're going through now. And the BBC are now looking into why that didn't happen. So there'll be another inquiry, investigation. It'll take 2 years and everybody will have forgotten by then. Meanwhile, an innocent man, at the moment, there's a public flogging going on. So I'll read that again. They received a press query 2025, which included limited information. They're now looking into why that didn't happen. Again, a bit like Hugh Edwards. Not that I'm aligning this story with the Hugh Edwards story, but remember there was a Newsnight investigation where 3 or 4 people within the BBC had made complaints about Hugh Edwards, and what happened to those? Nothing. Nix, nada, nothing. Absolutely bugger all. Pun intended. So that tells you and I something really important. This is no longer just an historical story. This is now a process story. This is not about the individual. This is about the organisation. This is about the BBC. So let's be precise. Bring clarity to the chaos. What's changed today is not the core facts. We already knew. There was an investigation. No charges were brought. The case was closed. But what has changed is the age detail. The BBC acknowledging prior knowledge in 2017. and the admission that a 2025 warning wasn't properly followed up. That's the shift. Now, as of now, Scott Mills himself has issued a statement. We're going to get to that in a moment. I'm going to read it verbatim. He maintains his position following the outcome of that investigation. No change to the legal position, no new finding from the authorities. So where does that leave us tonight? Well, this is about an institution making a decision years after the legal system made its own. And those two thresholds are not the same. The police operate on evidence beyond reasonable doubt. An employer operates on risk, reputation, and judgment. And sometimes those two don't line up. Now, here's the important line, and we stay disciplined on this. Clarity in the chaos. We deal in what we know, not what we suspect. And what we do know is this. The reporting across multiple outlets has been remarkably consistent. Same facts, same framing, same language, which usually tells you one thing. This is a controlled flow of information, not a fully open story. So when I read this over the last few days, I thought, the Sun's saying the same things as the Daily Mirror, and the Daily Mirror is saying the same things as the Daily Mail, and the Daily Mail is saying the same things as the Sun. Why? And I thought, it's got to be legal. They're only saying what they can say at that moment. They're not making anything else up. So that's why I knew I just had to sit back and just watch. Because when the newspapers are being controlled, like they're on a leash, and the leash is really tight round their throat, and the dog's not moving anywhere, you just know one of them's going to break cover. One of them did break cover. The Daily Mirror had the story, and yet all of the other news outlets weren't allowing the Daily Mirror their moment. So the question tonight is not, what happened back then? The question is, why is it being acted on now? Because when institutions revisit old ground, it's rarely about the past. It's about pressure in the present. And that's where we are. The legal system said one thing, the institution is now saying something else. And that gap, that's where the real story lives. This story isn't finished. It's not even close. But for now, that's the ground truth. That's the clarity in the chaos. And everything we do tonight builds from there. So let me just, I don't know which one to read first. I think I'll go with Scott Mills' statement rather than the BBC's statement. Let me just, right. No, I'm going to do the BBC statement first because it came out at lunchtime today. And it's really important. It includes lots of detail that are pertinent. And then Scott Mills' statement, which is kind of a statement. So let me just put this in the right place, baby. So the BBC statement released at lunchtime today. And notice they didn't release it before 12 o'clock because before 12 o'clock people might have thought it was an April Fool's joke. Not a very good one, but people might have presumed. BBC statement. The BBC was made aware of a police investigation into DJ Scott Mills in 2017. Just as a little aside, they weren't saying that 2 days ago, were they? Until the press outed them. Not out, just out. BBC was made aware of a police investigation into DJ Scott Mills in 2017. The corporation has confirmed. But the Radio 2 presenter was sacked after, and I directly quote, new information about his conduct came to light in recent weeks. Mills was investigated by police over historical allegations of serious sexual offences in 2016, but no charges were brought after prosecutors decided in 2019 that there was insufficient evidence to proceed with the case. At this point, Mills had not yet responded to repeated requests for comment. Maybe he was doing what Hugh Edwards did. Reputational management by a third party, or a very expensive third party. So on Tuesday, that'll be yesterday, the Metropolitan Police told BBC News that the teenage boy at the centre of sexual offences investigation was under the age of 16. Open brackets, my words, statutory rape. Close brackets. BBC News understands that the Director General at the time of the investigation, Tony Hall, did not know about the allegations. The BBC statement on Wednesday, today, came after mounting pressure on the broadcaster to explain what led to the Radio 2 DJ's sudden departure. In a statement, a BBC spokesperson said, Scott Mills had a long career across the BBC. He was hugely popular, and we know the news this week has come as a shock and surprise to many. We also recognise there's been much speculation in the media and online since Monday. We hope people understand that there is a limit to what we can say because we have to be mindful of the rights of those involved. What we can confirm is that in recent weeks we obtained new information relating to Scott and we spoke directly with him. As a result, the BBC acted decisively in line with our culture and values and terminated his contracts on Friday, the 27th of March. The spokesperson added, separately, we can confirm the BBC was made aware in 2017 of the existence of an ongoing police investigation, which was subsequently closed in 2019, with no arrest or charge being made. We are doing more work to understand the detail of what was known by the BBC at this time. Close quotes. The statement concluded that the BBC had made a significant commitment to improve its culture, processes and standards, roughly meaning they don't allow BBC presenters to rape 8-year-old children on BBC premises. Fact. Last year, following an independent culture review, we set out the behavioural expectations for everyone who works with or for the BBC, and we were clear action would be taken if these were not met. So the new in 2017, new information directly quoted from that statement, new information came to light. So what was the new information then? We need to know from the BBC. That's the BBC statement. And then about an hour ago, notice how it's always about 5 or 6 o'clock at the end of the day. So the newspapers haven't got it for the following morning. They're not daft, these people, are they? Hugh Edwards, oh, it's me mental capacity, it's me mental health. He was still texting the poor little bugger after he got found out. We know from the docudrama, because they wouldn't have put it in the docudrama if it wasn't true. Guess who? Here's Johnny. So, Scott Mills' statement as follows. Presenter Scott Mills has confirmed he was investigated over a sexual offence in his first statement since he was sacked from the BBC. Mills said the announcement of his sacking had led to the publication of rumour and speculation. Can I just tell you something? The newspapers wouldn't dare publicise rumour and speculation for fear of being sued. So can I just tell you, Mills said the announcement of his sacking had led to, direct quote, to the publication of rumour and speculation. Don't think the newspapers did that, so who's lying? Just asking for a friend. The Metropolitan Police, the statement continues. The Metropolitan Police launched an investigation in 2016 before closing it in 2019 after the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, deemed there was insufficient evidence to bring charges. Directly quoting here. Since the investigation related to an allegation that dates back nearly 30 years and the police investigation was closed 7 years ago, I hope that the public and the media will understand and respect my wish to not make any further public comment on this matter, the former BBC Radio 2 presenter said. So the allegations, first published in the Daily Mirror, reported to have happened between 97 and 2000. And so that you get a clear, defined timeline, in 1997, Scott Mills was working for Heart. Wasn't working for the BBC, didn't start working for the BBC, Radio 1, until 1998. So this all happened between 97 and 2000, police said, when Scott Mills would have been in his mid-20s. On Monday, it was announced that the former Radio 1 presenter had been sacked by the BBC over allegations related to his personal conduct. The BBC has not given any further details over the allegations, and it is not clear what, if any, role the police investigation played in his sacking. So the first question that comes to my lips, my tongue, with the experience that I've got over the last nearly 50 years in the media, is this. Are the police going to reopen the investigation? Because the BBC said, and I quote, new information. So if there's new information, the BBC can reopen their investigation. But I don't know why the BBC and the Crown Prosecution Service would not prosecute statutory rape. So has it been swept under the carpet? Statutory rape, whether it's consensual or not. If the person is under 16 years old in this country, whatever the sex, statutory rape. But nobody's mentioning that, and I can't rebroadcast this on YouTube because of the R word. Rape, just in case you're a bit thick. So are the police going to have a look at the investigation? Now, the real pertinent thing that you have to understand, I hope that the public and the media will understand and respect my wish not to make any further public comment on this matter. So we now know that Scott Mills is not going to give an interview to one of the Sundays, one of the dailies. So what have the Daily Mirror and the Sun got that they're going to publish on Sunday? Because that's the next step. I mean, I can go into how the media works. I can tell you how newspapers work and what they do and why they do it. Have you noticed they've trickled the story over the last 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Look at the timing of the story. Monday lunchtime, so that, and I saw it land and flash. And I just thought, no, I can't say this, but with my life experience in the media, it would be a very good guess that it being released on a lunchtime meant that the dailies had whole afternoon to get on the phones and find the story and get their journos going and everything. And then get it on the front page of the dailies the following day on Tuesday. But Scott Mills, I'll say this again. I hope the public and the media will understand and respect my wish not to make any further public comment on this matter. So he's not going to the newspapers with an interview, because normally on a Thursday, if the tabloids have got a story about outing the sexuality of a singer or some salacious bit of tits and teeth gossip for a Sunday, like News of the Screws, they would be publishing on a Sunday. So they would approach the celeb and go, we understand that you like little boys, not little girls. Fluff. So, do you have a comment? And then the celeb would go, oh, can I give you the real story? It's my trauma as a childhood. I was abused as a child. And, you know, I have alcohol and drug issues. I'm dependent. And I've got all this. I've got a much bigger story. So normally the dailies would use the little story of them having their wicked way on the doorstep of one famous singer and one TV presenter, noshing off the singer on the doorstep, and the News of the World getting the Polaroid of one man doing another thing to another man. Hello, I like to say hello to me mum, me dad. It's a radio gag. If you know, you know. And so the News of the World had the Polaroid of them two, one on his knees, the other one standing up, getting a blowjob on the doorstep of his house. It cost someone, I'm not going to suggest who, but I know who it is. For legal reasons, I won't go any further. But it cost them a lot of bloody money to buy that Polaroid, no other evidence. Buy the Polaroid, burn it, no evidence, no story. But that's what the tabloids do. So you just watch. And if there's anything on the front pages tomorrow, I'll have it on this channel in a video tomorrow morning. But it's Sunday that I'm looking at. Sunday, if there's no story, if the PR have managed to keep it out of the papers, then the story's dead. It's finished. But the BBC, funded by our taxes, need to tell us what the new evidence is. Because if there's any illegality involved in any way, shape or form, statutory rape or not, then the BBC is culpable. Can you see where that's going? They'll just sweep it under the carpet. But let's hope they're not allowed to, because of what Hugh Edwards did and what Hugh Edwards did within the BBC organisation. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Let me just bring them up on my screen. Let's have a look. No, I haven't got it. Shite, hang on. Okay, I'll make them up off the top of my head. 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. You know the drill by now. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Geordie Nicholas. I'm a first time caller. Hello, Geordie Nicholas. You're wrong. Enver, he isn't deemed innocent. He has had allegations raised against him. Just because it hasn't been tried in court doesn't make him innocent. It's a fine legal line, but it exists. You can be fired from it. Ooh, Enver, that would be... So if somebody gets sacked, which Scott has, for a rumour, so it's not... The Scots have not proven rather than not guilty in this country. So he hasn't gone through the judicial process, so they've sacked him on a rumour. Ooh, that was... I mean, I agree with you, but it's fraught with danger. It's fraught with, I'm taking you to court. And if he's on 355, 360 grand a year, at least, that's going to cost him a lot of money. Look at Hugh Edwards. He hasn't given them the 200 grand back yet. Up yours. I'm keeping the money. That's Hugh Edwards. Hang on, Rich. The returning officer was shitting bricks and they employed lots of lawyers. Who was that? Crime and Politics News. Hang on. Evening, Amalia. Welcome to the Body of the Kirk. Starmer CPS mates decided that they didn't know what a home was. I will say this. So I managed, after a lot of effort, to get the police to investigate, including a complaint. The file was passed to the CPS. Look, if Jimmy Savile, that file went across Starmer's desk, the most prolific paedophile in this country's history, his file went across his desk, and it went into file 13, the bin. So if somebody else that was alleged to have been mucking about with kids, because that's what under 16 is, his file's gone across the CPS's desk. NFA, no further action. Can you see what's going on with the elite? Anybody that's shagging kids or married men playing about with teenage boys, it just goes across the CPS desk and in file 13. Can you see how it works now? Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew the Battenberg in the bin. No prosecution. Why should they? So, are you ready with your fingers? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. Should the police reopen the investigation? Because there is, according to the BBC, new information. They knew what was going on in 2017. They knew it had been closed down. It was across the desk, in the bin, no NFA. So should the police investigation be reopened now that there has new information come to light? Matt Whedon and Albert Metcalf. If the BBC have sacked Mills, then there's either something to the story or Mills has coughed to something. I think his mouth was full at the time, Neil Cunningham. Dave Warrington, Les Griffiths. Clintons and Haiti. Well, as in Haiti Katie. Lewis and Gene Psychic and Fatal Racing Driver, Angelic Inspirations, Tom Harney's, Vix Tex, The O Bovril, Reg D, Des Ashton. Is there new evidence? No, new information is the direct quote from the BBC statement today. New information. Now, they can sort of dance about and use very flowery language, but new information is new information. Cough, you wrong uns. What's the new information? And if the new information pertains to having sex with underage children, the police, in the public interest, need to reopen the investigation. Now, if there was... No, that would be speculation. I'm not going to speculate. Neil Cunningham, Paul West, Jodie Nicholas, Penny Hen, Annie Watt. Oh, good question, Enver. Has the new information been reported to the police? Well, if it has, that's the story in tomorrow morning's paper. 1, only if the new information is relevant. Thank you, I see you. Ian McGee. Enigma Blue makes a very good point. What's the point? They'd just get away with it. Rolf Harris didn't. Jimmy Savile did, but Jimmy Savile was so far up the food chain, he had very powerful friends, very powerful. And as I've said to you, look, I can tell you this because this is my lived experience. And I can tell you this because the man I'm talking about, a man called Thomas Wright, a councillor in Sunderland, rapist, child abuser. Rapist and child abuser. Do you want me to tell you that again? Thomas Wright, convicted 35 years inside for child rape and abuse. He went to London and was in parties in London that he shit himself at and got out of London and came back to the northeast, and I was standing there in my grandparents' home when he was squealing like a banshee because they'd killed a young boy at that party. That was never investigated because there was members of the clergy there. And I'm telling you, because I always tell the truth, that evil piece of shit, I was standing there looking at him. I can recall it now. And when I recalled my experiences to Northumbria CID, that's why that fucker went to jail for 35 years. So can you see how the elite get away with it? Chris Price, Napoleon blown apart, crime and politics news, and Barry Wright in the field, but only if it's access all areas. Oh, I say in the field. What, oh, bung up his arse. Comic Mania, Onshore, Karina and That Hurt, Sharon Grinnell, apologies Sharon Grinnell, Marco Iovo, did I get that? Marco Iovo, did I get that right, Marco? All saying yes, 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 yes. But everybody's making points that only if it's relevant, appropriate and proportionate, because they're not telling us what the new information is. They're asking us to believe them when they're not giving us the detail. Oh, believe us, we're anti-Beeb, we're the BBC. Bad Wolf Project says, news confidentiality isn't just a leash on you, it's mutual. If a company is hiding stuff that's relevant to your rights, safety or legality, you can push back. Shannon McBride, fuck. Vix Tex, thank you, Vix Tex. The Bad Wolf Project, correct. So that's another angle where the BBC will be in trouble. So as I said in the video that I made a little earlier today, this is not a story about an individual, although there is an individual involved. This is a story about an institution. an institution that's got form. Savile, Stuart Hall, Rolf Harris, et al. I only have to give you 3. There's bloody 50 odd of them. I could ream names and names and names and names. Look at Jim'll Fix It with Gary Glitter and everybody that was on Jim'll Fix It around the kids. Me, Savile, I would dig that fucker up, grind his bones to a pulp, and then burn the fucking ashes again, and then bury him again. But you see, like the inquiry into Savile and Hall and a bit of Harris, Rolf Harris's time at the BBC, to find out what actually went on, Jimmy Savile raped an 8-year-old girl on BBC property. That came out in the inquiry. Was it Dame Janet Smith? Came out in her inquiry at their time at the BBC. But that was never publicised by the same mainstream media that is asking you to believe about Charlie 19 and the Jibber Jabber. The press lie. That's their job. The BBC is the fucking propaganda arm of the government. It's not anti-Beeb. It's propagandist. They are the propaganda arm of the British government. Doesn't matter what colour it is, red, blue, sky blue, pink with yellow dots on. It's the propaganda arm, which is why nothing ever happens to it until they get somebody from Google in there. Because I do believe he's going to give the BBC an enema. Can you imagine the flow of shit coming out of the BBC? It's not going to be nice to watch, obviously. Geordie Nicholas says, what place has a fiddler statue above the fucking door? I agree with you, Geordie Nicholas. Some people make. And they kind of repaired it, didn't they? Was it Ariel? And when I was working for the BBC, is the statue Ariel? And it was the artist stonemason that created it. Now, Ariel is the internal magazine. The BBC has its own weekly magazine. Ariel comes out every Thursday or Friday. And it's just blowing smoke up its own arse. Now, I don't know how it does that. It must have had 3 vertebrae removed at a very early age. But Shannon McBride says, I hope so. Something needs to be done, and he's in the position to do it. I do. When I was part of the BBC, because look, I'll tell you this straight. When I was in commercial radio, the commercial radio boys, me included, laughed at the BBC. Because the BBC, we looked down on it because the BBC was just, that's where you went if you were shit at your job. And then I find myself at the BBC. Both BBC Radio Cleveland, Radio Tees as it is now, and BBC Radio Newcastle, and BBC Radio Carlisle, BBC Radio Leeds, and BBC Radio Sheffield, and BBC Radio Yorkshire et al. I was networked at one point. And I kind of got it then. When you're in your pomp and you're in your 20s and you're full of, young, dumb, full of cum, it's kind of like, I'm mad. You're just doing it. And increasing the audience figures. BBC don't have to rely on audience figures. They just have to rely on the TV license. So if there's no news, the Bad Wolf Project, if there is no new evidence, his contract is worth just over $1 million, which the BBC will have to pay. Not just $1 million contract, but in perpetuity. And they might have to give him his job back. So I will tell you what is going on in the background as much as I can with all of my experience and my observations, certainly around the Hugh Edwards scandal, is that there will be reputational risk managers, both the BBC and individuals. There will be other risk managers. There will be other people that will charge a shit ton of money trying to get money out of the BBC as an advisor and money out of individuals possibly to get them back on the radio. But you see, this kind of scandal, the insinuation that the person that Scott Mills was having a dance with was under 16, statutory rape. even if it's consensual, it's statutory rape. Sometimes it's not in the public interest to prosecute, but this is a high-profile celebrity. So I will kind of wrap this up in a way to say, just take a step back, because there's a lot of noise, fog. There's people, this is the thing that I don't understand. So I'm not an astrophysicist. So I won't talk with any expertise or gravitas around astrophysics. But radio is in my DNA. I've presented radio programs for 47 years to huge audiences, hospital radio audiences. I still do a weekly soul and dance show for Zetland FM in the Northeast. 47 years in radio. So I know what I'm talking about. And other people are doing videos. And I'm watching these people talk about it thinking, you're not actually saying anything. So that's why I've not speculated at all. And in my videos, I'm lifting the veil. I'm pulling the curtain back and telling you what goes on in radio, what the processes within radio are. And if the BBC, with new information, has sacked this kid on the spot, release the new information. Do you want the BBC to release the new information? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. Do you want the BBC to release the new information? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. Let's have a look at what the zeitgeist is. Back to the swinging 60s, Lord Boothby, the craze, Kitty, all involved, says Paulie. Yeah, they kept Ronnie in jail because of the Lord Boothby thing. They were shagging, weren't they? And they couldn't have the elites. And I've told you before many, many, many times, it's like the bloody Romans. Men for recreation, women for procreation. Katie Razzle, BBC Culture and Media Editor, summed it up brilliantly. It's happening far too much at the BBC. Neil, thank you for that. And I'm going to get back to what I promised I would get back to a little earlier in a moment. The BBC know now, because internally the BBC, from the people that I know working for the BBC, who I won't, as a courtesy, bring their names here. Everybody in the BBC. Oh, hang on, that's too broad a brushstroke. A lot of people within the BBC knew about Hugh Edwards, not to the extent, and not what he was doing, showing his ring piece to teenagers on camera. They knew. Like the time I met Jimmy Savile, fucking hell, my skin crawled. I mean, I've said to you before, I was too heterosexual and too mature for him to take a fancy to me. Because I would have just sparked him out. Wrestler, my hairy arse. I've told you about Simon Bates. Fondled my sphericals. And I turned round to him and said, Bates, you do that again, I'm going to rip your arms off and shove the soggy ends up your arse. That's the impression of the response I got. So Savile, I felt like, and I'm not bigging this up, but genuinely, when I met him in the studios at then TFM, because he was going to come and do Savile's Travels, it just made me skin crawl. Oh, by the way, there's another character in this story called Lorna Clark. I know Lorna. She interviewed me for the head of music at Kiss FM back in this would have been the early 90s. Lovely woman. Genuinely a lovely woman in my personal experience. The Gordon Mack, Lorna, and one other interviewed me. They asked me to go for the interview, and I didn't interview very well. But Lorna was delightful, sharp, talented, delightful. So she's appeared in this story, having sent out an email to BBC staff. She's their director of music now, I think, at the BBC. So let's have a look. So I've asked you, should the BBC release what this information is, this new information? And literally, everybody's saying yes. I'll go through it. Bad Wolf Project was first, and then Vix Tex, Annie Watt, Nicky Watson, Matt Whedon, Alan Partridge, Dave Warrington, Stewart, Albert Metcalf, Rich, Lewis, Fatal Racing Driver, Allison, Oval Raw, Phil Levan, That Hurt, Paul West, Catwoman Jones, Paulie Galtieri, everybody. Supernova, Comic Mania, Alan McGee, Karina, I See You. Kaz, spot on. Yes, but they won't. Les Griffiths, I don't bloody care, man. Released to whom? Oh, good question, Des. To the public, give it to the press. Mind you, the press will lie. They always do. The only thing that the press never lie about is the price on the front of the paper. Oh, yeah, in the field and for all the past outings. Napoleon Bonaparte says 1, I think. But they probably can't, says Tom Harneys. So if they can't, Tom, is that a legal reason why they can't? Has Scott Mills hired very expensive lawyers? Damage limitation, reputation management. Because that's what Edwards did. He had one of the former News of the World editors or journos that's got a PR company to keep stuff out of the papers. Amalia's distracted by dinner. Let's all see what Amalia's having for dinner. We might just pop round and feed our faces too. Gene Psychic 1, but maybe they can't legally. Well, it's good to be cautious, but they've sacked him. So if they've sacked him, the new information is good enough to sack him for grounds to be sacked. And let's just watch. Because if Scott Mills doesn't take the BBC to court for unfair dismissal because they haven't got anything other than what happened 10 years ago, and they already knew nearly 10 years ago that there was no case investigated, no case closed. CBS, there's not a high probability of prosecution or conviction. And have you noticed how this week there's only one news story in town? This one. And then that wobbly-headed, inept PM is he addressed the nation. Did he? Not in my house he didn't. Ineptitude, he's gone in 6 weeks. What do I want to listen to that shite for? He's probably going to lie anyway. It's been proven. Look at Mr. U-turn, Mr. Lie, proven liar. No, yeah, Starmer, cough. Neil Cunningham makes a really, 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 really good point. 1, but only if it doesn't affect any police investigation. So that's why I asked the question earlier. Do you think the police should reopen the investigation? What is the new information? And why wasn't he prosecuted for statutory rape? His defense, we don't know what his defense was. He was interviewed under caution, NFA'd. So we don't know what he gave. But I will tell you this. If my reputation and my career and my livelihood was under threat, I'd tell them, loose the dogs of war. I don't care. The public know who I am. They know my sexuality. I don't care what's out there now. Loose the dogs of war. Because what this is, and this is my last promise, my last comment on this for the moment, because I might have to make a new video in the morning. This is a death match. Metaphorical, of course. The death match is between BBC, the institution, and Scott Mills, the individual. He's multimillionaire, Scott Mills. And the BBC is the propaganda arm of the current sitting left-wing government. It's a death match. In my observation, the BBC is sacrificing one of their presenters because he's a nothing. Doesn't matter. And Scott Mills, he's fighting for his career and his reputation. And he's still a young guy. Face full of Botox. Self-admitted, he's talked about it on air, man. He's got filler in his face. Whoever he is. Boothby was into young boys via the craze, says John Archer. Yeah. So was Kitty. Who shall remain nameless, unless you know. Les, don't say anything you're wronging. Or Paulie. Because legally it's still dicey. But Kitty hasn't been seen for bloody months and months and months. Is he jibber jabbered cancer? Turbo? Wasn't Turbo the rapper in Snap? I got the power. Right. I want to say thank you because Monday was quite difficult. I'd found a very, very dear and inspirational friend. Napoleon Bonaparte says, I've eaten so much Battenberg, I should be renamed Fattenberg. Oh, everybody's full of creativity in the yeah, we should do. Dark chocolate and mint, perfect combination. Rich, you're wrong. I just want to say thank you to Neil, who made a donation, either for Marie Curie nurses or some flowers for James's funeral. I'm hoping to find out when the funeral is next week, because normally Christian, whether it's being burnt or being buried, normally 7 days. Other religions and faiths and ideologies, it's normally the next day. That's why Fayed had to bury his son Dodi within 24 hours. Muslim had to be buried 24 hours. Christian, depends if the church is open or not. So I'm hoping that I managed to get there. So yes, I will. Thank you, Neil. I really appreciate it. And everybody else that's sent me both public and my public and private avocations. Everyone that's sent messages, I really, really appreciate it, because he was a special man. And a small comfort is that a lot of my former colleagues and radio people have all been saying roughly the same thing, that he was an inspiration, that he was a lovely guy, loved his gargle, but was just, I mean, James Stanage, head and shoulders, for me personally, the king of late night radio. And I'm not being disrespectful to any of the other boys that have done it. Scotty, Alan Robson, Bezic, Clive Bull, Tommy, all the boys that have done late night radio. I don't include Pat Fisher in this, because there's plenty of room for everybody. But James was very, very special. Very special. So thank you, Neil. I just wanted to acknowledge you and say thank you for what you did. It was a very kind gesture. Thank you. There is a lot of stuff going on at the moment. Hang on. Where's in the field? Hang on. In the field. Oh, yeah, DEI. Yeah. Turbo is an album by Judas Priest. Oh, I remember that. God. But Turbo was the rapper in Snap. Oh, what's the quote? I'm as serious as cancer. In a pop song. What a boy. Hang on, who's that? Tony Rivers died yesterday. A heartfelt tribute to him from a certain person whom we don't name. Meow. Kitty! Hey? Oh. Hang on. Who's Tony Rivers? Sorry, Lauren. I don't... Because I'm adrenalized, I can't think clearly. I'm just kind of on a very adrenalized roll. I don't know who Tony Rivers is. Always amazes me how anyone can arrange a funeral and wake within 24, 48 hours. I think the whole community comes together, Amalia. I certainly know in Judaism, which is, it's roughly the same, they have to be buried quickly. Because obviously in the Middle East, you don't want some rotting carcass putrefying in the sun. So that's why they do it. Oh, thank you, Bad Wolf Project. Here, kitty. Shares his heartbreak as a musician friend. Tony Rivers dies aged 85. Oh, that's it. In the field. Thank you. Well, it kind of does. I'm a serious cancer when I say rhythm is a dancer. Did he lie awake at night trying to think of those lyrics? Shannon McBride says, can I ask who Kitty is? I'm assured he's a sparkly type of kitty. He's a very sparkly type of kitty. He likes pink champagne. Clues in the drink. Kitty is... well, if you went down to Dover, you would see those white things. What do they call those white things in Dover? And what's the elongated name for a dick? I'm as serious as cancer when I say rhythm is a dancer. Seagulls, yeah, shit on you. Shannon McBride, everybody knows who Kitty is. Brilliant, Shannon. So I want to get into some other stuff. Should we talk about Artemis? Because I kind of know that we've been doing a lot of really heavy, weighty, serious stuff recently. I just wanted to kind of level up this week because, we're getting to the time where, certain humans really died and then were raised from the dead of their own accord. Now, whether you believe that, I mean, I've been to Mount. I'm trying not to think of a Popeye gag. I've been to the Mount of Olives, not Mount Olive. I've been there, stood there, been into the Church of the Ascension. I've been to. It was on my bucket list. But I think I'll leave it till Easter Sunday. Tonight's Wednesday. You can have your eggs on Sunday, fertilised or unfertilised, but I'm definitely going to get myself a Toblerone. Oi, 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 oi. Do they do Battenberg eggs? But when I saw that Artemis is going to be launched in a few hours, so most of the noise is down here. I mean, it'll be bloody loud in Cape Canaveral, but while most of the noise is down here, something extraordinary is happening up there. NASA, not a space agency, NASA is preparing to launch Artemis 2. Now, it's the first time in 50 years that human beings will leave low Earth orbit and head back to the moon. So I'm just going to let that land for a second. Not satellites, not thousands like Elon Musk's got up there, not probes, not robots, people. These skin suit things that we wear. We're not a human with a soul. We are a soul with a fat suit. Speak for yourself, darling. So 4 astronauts, 3 American, 1 Canadian. They're going to be strapped to the most powerful rocket NASA has ever built. 10-day mission, going out to the far side of the moon before returning home. 10 days. Not landing. Well, not yet. This is a test. Can you imagine? You've killed 4 people. Ah, well, test didn't work then. It's kind of a proving ground, for want of a better term. Because before you build a base, and that's what they want to do, before you talk about the red planet and Gannon to Mars, you have to answer the oldest question in exploration. Can we still do this? No. Stanley Kubrick confessed to everybody, we didn't. They filmed it on a soundstage in Hollywood. Oh, well, partly. Because they didn't know whether they would get the shot, whether they would, I'm making my own gags up, don't care. They wouldn't have the shot of them leaving the moon, landing on the moon. Tranquility Base, the Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man. Oh, bugger. Can we do it again, Hollywood? I've mucked my lines up. No, you can't. You're wrong and you're bloody nearly down on the surface. All right, then. 1 man for step 1, 1 giant leap for mankind. It should have been the other way around. Are they going to be able to get through the Van Allen belt? So I'm going to ask you 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. I'm going to ask you, do you believe man has set foot on the moon? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for don't know. Battenberg and eggs. Cream eggs, you mean, Adrian, surely. No, it depends which ones you want fertilised, Roy Gordon. Oh, mixed bag. So, NASA has a Hollywood-sized film set. Why would they need that? All those bogus pictures of Venus, etc. Les. They've even got pictures of Uranus. Don't know how they manage that. Des Ashton says, yes. Fatal racing driver, no. Neil Cunningham, no. Chris Price, no. So we'll do the yeses. Theo Bovril and Roy Gordon and your Enver and Dodzer and Oval Raw. Lewis is unsure. And I tend to be there with Lewis because I'm not sure. Because I know that Stanley Kubrick filmed it on behalf of the American government. But to what end? Did they go? And did he just have the footage so that people believed it? Nicky Watson says no. Chris Price and Neil Cunningham, Fatal Racing Driver, say no. As does I See You and Dodzer. And bugger out. I remember getting dragged out of bed to watch it. Man made jam on toast. Oh, I see you. Living the high life. Annie Watt, unsure. Gene Psychic, not sure. Maybe Moon is closer than we think and it's a military base, or they did some mission, but we cannot say. I'll just pause it there for a second because there is some remote viewers that I am in contact with that I want to have them come on the channel for my Decoded Conversation interviews. What I'm attempting to do is I'm attempting to do a weekly interview of someone that has a good story. Doesn't have to be celeb, doesn't have to be notoriety, just has to have good stories. So that's what's coming on a Sunday morning. Decoded Conversations, talking to people with a great story. So it looks like it's a really mixed bag. Let's go to them. NASA Cocktail. Oh, yeah, we got that one. NASA Cocktail, 7-Up, and a dash of Teachers. Oh, I say. Space 1999. Loved that, Lewis. I loved it. Watched it as a boy. The double shadow caused by the sun and the light reflecting of the Earth. 2 sources of light. Oh, I say. NASA got the pics of Uranus from Hugh Edwards, says Neil Cunningham. Well, I hope clearer photos are released of Apollo 11's landing site. Clearly that they landed looking at the footprints. Of course, Rich. Of course. So they'll have the technology to literally take a photograph of the pimple on an astronaut's arse on the moon. So they should be able to go past the landing sites. Ooh, do you think they will? Or have they done that on the sound stage that Stanley Kubrick used? So it's a real mixed bag. There's a lot more 3s tonight, Annie Watt included. Tom Harney's, Yes, I See You. I remember getting up, yeah. Les Griffiths. So have half the old tarts in Pontefract. Oh, I say, Les Griffiths. Well, I never. They've seen Uranus. Must have been a light night. I don't believe Nixon phoned Armstrong on the moon from a landline either, says Phil Levan. Mercury entering Uranus. Chris Price. Sister Mary loves Uranus. I know she stroked it quite a few times, Stuart. Dave Warrington. No. Yes, we have. Lauren Taylor. Yes. Geordie Nicholas. No. What do you call a man with a seagull on his head? Kitty. Look, I lived in Sunderland, so I can tell you, when I would finish a motor mechanic apprenticeship with the PWD, I used to have to get the bus home, and there's been many a time I've been standing in Sunderland's now city centre, and seagulls would shit on me from a great height. I mean, I'm sure it's good luck, so they say, but I'm very well aware of the size of a seagull's derriere and what it expels out of there. Amalia says 3. Not sure if they'd hit their heads on the firmament. Good point. Lauren Taylor, yes. Jodie Nicholas, no. Some eggs are rotten. Bit like politicians, Enigma. Enigma Blue, sorry. Elliot says no. Karina says no. Mad Matt UK says yes. In the Field says yes. So Stuart says no. Kaz, no. Ian McGee, no. But Matt Whedon says yes. So it's a real mixed bag. I would say it's kind of 60-40 no and yes. 60% no. 40% yes. So I'm going to, not a question, but it's kind of like a rhetorical question. Can we still do this? I mean, the mission is going to take them over 250,000 miles from Earth, further than any human has ever travelled. Houston, we have a problem. We've got Tom Hanks in the spacecraft. And look, here's the detail that most people miss. And it's not about flags and footprints. It's about systems, life support, communications, heat shields. Houston, I'm going for re-entry. Yeah, mucky tart. Human endurance in deep space. Everything has to work perfectly. Because out there, there's no margin for error. Error. They can't hear you scream in space. And beneath all of that, the cynical old tartism, there's a race quietly unfolding. Bloody Chinese. Because while the West talks about Artemis, others are watching, building, preparing. Little grey men at Area 51. They've all got their own timelines for the moon. The Chinese have been launching something every year for the past God knows how many years. So this is not, because it's the Americans, there'll be a certain tinge of nostalgia. But this is geopolitical positioning. Geopolitics played out 250,000 miles from Earth. And maybe that's the real story tonight. Whilst we argue about what's happening down here on Earth, bills, politics, institutions, lying tarts in Parliament. Oh, did I say that out loud? At least I don't have any rent boys coming around to my house. Humanity is reaching outward again. Space. The final frontier. It had Spock in it, so it had left ear, right ear, final frontier. Same sky, different direction. But the question is, are we watching it as a moment of unity or just another headline to scroll past? Is it for the 250th anniversary of America being born? Because that's what 2026 is. Right, 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for eh. So, do you believe space exploration, like Artemis, is essential for humanity's future? Are you buying into what Elon Musk is saying? Do you believe space exploration, like Artemis, is essential for humanity's future? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. TMG, I'm still laughing at the gag. Let's have a look. Russia are still sending Laura's great-great-great-grand puppies. What? You're getting Laura's puppies out again? Neil Cunningham, Scott Mills is launching a spacecraft. Artemis. Artemis. Bad Wolf Project, 250,000 miles. Do they get club card points? Can you imagine? Air miles. That's what they'll be getting. Air miles. They'll get free flights for the rest of their life. Paulie Galtieri, rewatching the X-Files from the mid-90s. Oh, boy. Did they predict a lot of stuff 30-odd years later? And the chances of anything coming from Mars is 1,000,000 to 1, they said. I hope the cadence was right. War of the Worlds. Little grey men. Hang on, what's that? Potholes, I say. Potholes, says I see you. Peter Sadler. Evening, Adrian and everyone. Peter, you've missed the best bit. Napoleon blown apart yesterday. A NASA engineer said the radiation is not a problem because we've developed a radiation shield. So how did they go in 1969 then? Rich. Oh, so question is, and I would love your votes if you can, if I can hit the right bit. Do you believe space exploration like Artemis is essential for humanity's future? Rich says yes. Neil Cunningham says no, as does Phil Levan. Hang on. Phil Levan. Oh, come here. Dodds. Honestly, the minute I start mucking with this mouse. Lioness sleeps no more. Buzz Aldrin even stated they never went to the moon. I know, but Slugger Aldrin, he goes fighting now. He's an old boy as well. Goes fighting. So let's look at some of your votes. So Rich says yes, but Phil Levan and Dodzer, and I see you. Hello, Peter. Chris Price, Stuart, Allison, Dave Warrington, Fatal Racing Driver, Paul West, Nicky Watson, Matthew Whedon and Barry Wright all say no. The Bad Wolf Project. Question. If Artemis goes woof tinkle, it will wipe Mills in Iraq off the front page. Very good point. If it goes tonight, there is no other news story. And how do we know that they're in the rocket? We don't. I mean, NASA unfortunately did have astronauts die. I was going to frame it a different way there, but I've decided I'll err on the side of caution. They did have astronauts die in pre-flight. burned inside of the capsule. The old Bovril is saying yes, as is Lewis. That hurt. And Roy Gordon saying no. Thank you, Lioness Sleeps No More. Napoleon blown apart, yes. Oh, you're in the right place, Napoleon blown apart. I bet America goes absolutely nuts tonight. Has the new government fuel app sent them to the moon for cheap fuel? Well, if you look at the Arnie movies, Terminator, it was all about getting minerals out of the Earth and out of the moon and out of Mars, because that's what they're after. They're after gold and minerals. We're not quite sure how they get it back here. 250,000 miles. Hope that doesn't invalidate the warranty. Oh, Kaz, that's really funny. That's proper funny. Enver says yes, and Enigma Blue, but Karina says no. Rich, same as discovering other countries. Can you imagine? The thing that I worried about though, the Christopher Columbus discovered America, but the Indians started talking to him in English. How did that happen then? English, the native tongue of America? Don't be silly. Have you seen their spelling? Same as discovering. Oh, yeah, thank you, Rich. Mark Ogden, 2. Ian McGee, 2. Geordie Nicholas, 2. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just think there are a few things that don't quite add up. Amalia's a sci-fi fan, so she says yes. Elliot, 2. Tom Harney's. Let me just... we've got Tom and Doxa. William Commons says no, as does Les Griffiths. We should never go into space if we are ever capable, that is. 2, the aliens who abducted me was not that friendly, says Gene Psychic. Ooh, I'm with you, Gene. Hope it... well, wasn't that sort of part of the X-Files? There were people who were being abducted by aliens and then having chips implanted. Wonder if that's going to happen over the next 20 years. Thank you, Jane. Rich, fave film, Amalia. I do love black and white old sci-fi movies. I mean, at least you couldn't see the strings, Rich. Des Ashton says, historically, the ceasefire of the American Revolutionary War was in 1783, which means we have another 7 years to wait for the 250th birthday. Artistic license, Des. That's what L. Trump wore, the orange man, he wants. So it'll be in his presidential term. And have you noticed, Mount Rushmore is getting a bit of a clean-up. Can you imagine? L. Trump wore. They're going to have to paint it orange. How are they going to do that with Mount Rushmore? Bloody thing, says Paulie Galtieri. You're wrong at all, mind you. Oh, fat fingers, well-hung lesbian. He's off to see L. Trump war in April. And all these wrong-uns, all the left-wing bullshitarians are saying, no, he shouldn't be going, He's ill. No, he's ill. He's the bloody king. He can do whatever he wants. He's got endless money, finances. He can do, well, he'll get the little people, me and you, to pay the bill. Can you imagine? Hello, Charlie. Do you want to come down to Mar-a-Lago? There's not much room in the White House. They've stopped me development of the ballroom. What do you need a ballroom for? Because my jockeys are a bit tight. Rich. Oh, God. It rains diamonds on Uranus. I'd heard that. Normally I just wipe it with a cloth. It rains. Yeah. Vikings got to America first. I know. But how can the Native Americans speak English? Not their native tongue. Couldn't have been. They learned it. Knight Templars, anyone? Or Vikings, back to the 500s and 600s. Yeah, Bad Wolf Project. 250,000 miles, just a fluid change and kick the tyres. So I think it's a real mixed bag. I'm the urban spaceman. So there, says in the field. E.T. Phone home. Well, can I use Richard Nixon's phone line? Because it's the only landline that'll reach the moon. Then the day the Earth stood still, says Rich. He's 96, I think. Who is? Lioness Sleeps No More. Slugger Aldrin. Do you know? Should I try? Right. So I don't forget, I'm going to write this down. Now, Now, you know, I might not, but obviously it'd have to be by Zoom unless the American government would pay me flight across there. I may be gone sometime. So Des Ashton says the Irish were on their way to the moon in the 60s until they ran out of scaffolding. Very good, Des. Right, let's get back into it. Let's get the bomb. Buzz Lightyear, Buzz Aldrin. Maybe that's why they called him Buzz Lightyear. Or did you buy one of those from Ann Summers? Jane, you still got it? No, I'm sure she's had the cream. Doctor says it'll be gone in a fortnight. Please, Mr. Spaceman, won't you please take me along? I won't do anything wrong, says Tom Harney's. We didn't go to the moon. Gribbo, funny how a car-sized meter burns to a small rock, but a tin can rocket can survive. Bullshit. Sorry, that's Gribbo, not me. I'm not. Yeah, Buzz is supposedly 96. What a boy, 96 years old. Turn it around, 69. Make your own gags up, you monkey tart. The Irish have announced they are going to the sun. When queried about the heat, they say they'll be going at night. Enver. Chuckles, I see you. And yeah, all right, I was there. Shannon McBride says, was there not something about Aldrin not being able to remember any of the landing or something like that? No, it's like some of the kids have been asking him, and it's on film in YouTube somewhere. All the kids have been asking him, hey, did you go to the moon? No, didn't go there. I went to a soundstage in Hollywood. The thing is, though, I'm sure that he would have an agreement. If you interview him, he can't talk about the moon. But now that we're going to the moon, I bet he's absolutely nuts busy. I'm gonna try it, though. In the morning, I am going to try it. Interplanetary, quite extraordinary craft. Amalia, Carpenters. You know that was made for... Which year was it? In the 70s that they had this kind of space interplanetary year. Was it not the year of the spacecraft? I can't remember what it was called. I mean, there's Ian Jury writing Spasticus Autisticus. And then there's the Carpenters. The Carpenters calling occupants of interplanetary craft. There's a gag in there somewhere. I'm too tired to think of it. Aldrin could not say if the sky was up and the ground is down, says Des Ashton. Willow. I had a cat called Willow. I see you. Have you been on the bloody cooking sherry again? Les Griffiths. Who was stood on the surface of the moon, taking footage of the first man on the moon descending the capsule ladder? Do you know, Les, there's no flies on you. That is quite... how did they get the camera out of the spacecraft to take the picture of the first man stepping onto the moon's surface? To think we're daft, man. Amalia says, I love that. Des Ashton, calling occupants of interplanetary... Look, I'm not singing for you all. I don't know the words. I only know one line. Neil Cunningham, hang on. Hugh Edwards wants to go into space. He said Uranus is prone to a blowout. Honestly, Neil, the other day when you were answering all of those comments on the Dougie videos, you made me roar with laughter. Because, you know, I've kind of got to a really good place where I can work out who the bots are and who the bots aren't. Tends to be that the real human beings are the ones that are very supportive of whatever it is. But the bots are supportive of him being a genius and a freedom fighter. And Neil, go back, Neil was very funny. Very, very funny. It was so entertaining, Neil. Let me just... a couple more and then... Willow the Cat. Thank you, Willow the Cat. Really appreciate it. So the next live, if you don't know the rhythm of this, we do Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, 7:15 for Parish Notes, where I kind of welcome everybody into the body of the Kirk and just chat stuff and riff with people that are in the body of the Kirk. 7:30 we always start, and 90 minutes. I always say, give me 90 minutes and I'll give you the world. Whatever is going on that day, we kind of cover and talk about and get opinions on and create the zeitgeist. So Willow the Cat, thank you. David Graham, calling occupants of interplanetary craft was recorded in 1975 and then released in 1976. But why was it released? There was something going on, because wasn't it what was the spacecraft that the other day I saw something, and obviously I get a tsunami of information. Trying to hold on to that is a bloody nightmare. But they did say that the first craft that we launched into, hang on a second, Stuart, thank you, young sir. I'll mention that in a second. Let me just do this. Oh, come on. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you for your continued support. Really appreciate it. I'm hoping I can get back to my other screen now. Oh, yes. So what was I saying? Yeah, the gold disc with music and stuff on it, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it was called, the spacecraft. It's the furthest man-made craft to reach, and it's still sending messages back. It's taken a while, but it's still sending messages back. It's still going. Hang on, where's Lionel? Lionel, I hope everything's okay. Yeah, you've got the support of the chat and the body of the Kirk. I hope you're okay. So tonight we've been talking about, just to kind of update you if you want to play catch up tomorrow. We've got a sit rep with Scott Mills, because in my view, let me just round this off for you in a couple of minutes. In my view, Lionel, there's more to come with his story. The press don't act like this. So the first day, which was technically Tuesday, the press had the same language, the same words, precision of their words and language, and they didn't step out of a really tightly defined boundary. And that's immediately sending off my spider senses, like, oh, hang on a second, there's something going on here. Why this? They don't do this. The Sun, the Daily Mirror, and the Daily Mail all saying the same thing in the same way at the same time. Oh, something going on. So I think and before I continue, Lionel, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but I can see the chat are very, very supportive of you because you're a regular. But if you want to talk away from the public glare, I'm always there, Lionel. You just have to drop me an email because I can't reverse it and contact you. And I'm happy to help in any way that I can, obviously. So Scott Mills, this is what I think is going to happen. Tomorrow is going to be the defining moment in this story, because the BBC have put out a statement today, lunchtime. Scott Mills has put out a statement which is being carried on the BBC's website and apps. And he's saying, just respect my privacy. No charges, case dismissed, NFA. So there's nothing else to answer. But he said that he's not going to add anything to what has already been said. Geordie Nicholas, thank you. Let me just acknowledge Geordie Nicholas. But I will tell you this. Have a pint, Aid. Best content in this corner. Any time for a live chat. Thank you, Geordie Nicholas. Always good to see you continuing to support the channel. Really do appreciate it. So this is what I know. Now, this doesn't necessarily, I'm not either psychic or I'm kind of reading the room, but Scott Mills, if I'd been him, I would have negotiated the NDA. Now, he has a right of reply, and he's issued that right of reply in that statement. But anything further, if he's governed by an NDA and the BBC's bought his silence off, because sometimes that does happen. We don't know whether he has or hasn't, whether the BBC have asked him to sign it or issued an NDA for payment. But if they're saying, if the narrative is he's got 30 years in, then just sign the NDA, you can have your pension. 160 grand a year, according to, was it Talk TV? Nice. I'll buy him a holiday or 3. So I believe there's a high probability, I can't be certain, but there's a high probability that there's a development coming in the morning. No development, story might be wavering. But the main day to watch the front pages and the newspapers, certainly the Mirror on Sunday, or the Sunday Mirror, and or the Sun on Sunday, and the Mail on Sunday, because if there's anything further, if the guy involved in this, not Scott Mills, the under 16-year-old, has given an exclusive interview, that's coming on Sunday. And then the story goes nuclear. So it's all ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. But because it's the totalitarian tiptoe, as David Icke says, they just do it in little incremental steps. But it's the fact that they're all doing it at exactly the same time, in exactly the same way. It's incredible. Enver says, would wait and see what develops with Mills. He may yet take the BBC to tribunal. He has 3 months. That's going to be the main indicator. If the BBC are saying we have new information, and the world's press will be at the tribunal if they can get in, it's because it's up in the air, so to speak. Anything could happen, but my take is this story is not over by a long stretch. And quite rightly, the under 16-year-old also has a right of reply. And that's what the newspapers will be fixing on. They've got a right of reply. They're involved in this case and should be allowed their right of reply. And that will be the interview that they will get paid for. And it'll be huge money. It'll be hundreds of thousands. But there's something that I find incredible, that there was a complaint made to the BBC, and the BBC have not issued what that complaint was. That was the initial story, and I've still got all of the newspapers. That's why I keep them, because then I can reference and cross-reference. But the complaint was last Tuesday, the day of the broadcast of the Hugh Edwards docudrama, Power, the Fall of Hugh Edwards, on Channel 5. So there's money in it, certainly. But let's just watch, because we can't with any certainty. We can kind of speculate, and I can use my lived experience in the media. But tomorrow and Sunday, big days. I mean, I know it's Easter weekend. So I'm going to wrap things up tonight. Thank you to everyone for being in the body of the Kirk. Yes, Lionel, speedy recovery. I'm not quite sure what you've been chatting about in the chat, because obviously I've been looking in this direction, but I will read it a little bit later. Neil Cunningham says, thank you for a cracking live, Adrian. Stay safe all. See you Sunday. Yep. Thank you, especially for your likes, your subscriptions, but most of all, your indulgence. Wherever you go, whatever you do, please be safe. Try and enjoy Easter weekend as best you can. Some poor bugger had to be crucified for us to celebrate and get a couple of days off work and eat chocolate Easter eggs, which is pagan. It's not got nothing to do with Christianity. And be safe and be well, including you, Lionel. And thanks for just kind of dropping in and saying hello. And make sure you've got emergency Battenberg. You don't want to be caught short. Altar wine. Fill your boots, but just don't drink from them. My name's Adrian Allen. This has been the Theatre of the Mind Live 308. And this is not a show. This is a mission. And the mission continues. Sunday night, live, Parish Note 7:15. We start the live proper 7:30. See you then.